Chow Down Chow or Random Gaming, depending on what you're
The
watching.
reason that why I wanted you on the podcast is I want to talk about the whole Dodgers Astro things. Were you watching the game when it happened? Because I thought
I
it was a
was.
yes. So that was a game where a lot of people had marked on their calendar because of the whole
Yeah.
thing. And tell me, what were your like initial reactions? And let's not talk about what MLB did, but just what were your thoughts on how it all went down?
I thought that the fact that Joe Kelly didn't actually make contact with a hitter,
Yeah.
meant that he would get off pretty light.
Hmm.
I did not think that he would get a big punishment. I was thinking like 2 games. And I also thought that it could have been a lot worse for the Astros because I
Yeah.
think that if there was someone on that mound who had better control than Joe Kelly did that
Hmm.
night, that they could have had a player go into the hospital.
Yep, yep. That's what I'm saying. And first of all, if you look at a lot of people have been saying, dude, it it drives me crazy when I go on ESPN and I hear these so-called like baseball people talking about, hey, you should throw at a player, it's dangerous, you know, whatever, right? They're cheaters. I could care less about what happens to them. I don't want him to die, of course, but like, first of all, Joe Kelly, if you look at how he was pitching that night, he had no control of his fastball. Like it was all over the
No,
place. So I don't even think he was like aiming for their heads. Like first of all, I just
no,
don't think that's what he was doing. Like he could very well be aiming at the center of the mound, and it just
yeah,
happened to be there, right? So I think
no,
it's a little crazy to say, "Hey, Joe Kelly, you shouldn't like throw at a pit like the batter's head." Like I don't think that's what he was like trying to do. That's the first thing. Well, and second of all, he didn't even make contact. No one got hit in the first
yeah.
place, right? But I don't know. I I really didn't like Joe Kelly before, like when he was on the Red Sox.
Mhm.
But now he's like my hero, like my personal hero. I love
I feel like you knew that it was inevitable he would do something because he's
him.
so
Yeah,
confrontational. Like when he hit the
he is.
Yankees, like 2 years ago,
Mm.
like he always does this stuff. You knew it'd be him, and I'm glad it was, and I'm glad that the
Yeah,
baseball community rallied around it.
yeah. He's the hero that that we deserve, man. Joe Kelly. Like, if you look at all the comments, it's like Joe Kelly MVP. Like, I never thought I liked Joe Kelly. He's like a Dodger fan favorite. Next time I go to a
Oh,
game,
he's a
I'm
legend
pretty
now.
sure I'm on. Yeah, dude. The face he made, oh, legend, legendary. That's gonna live on forever. Oh, and I saw a video on YouTube like breaking down what they said, like just by reading lips. I don't know if you saw
Hmm.
it, and
Yeah.
there were some really funny comments there. But yeah, so like you said, but what do you feel about the suspension? Because that was in my mind a little out there, you know?
I think it's pretty egregious considering usually if you hit a batter, it's like a 3 to 4 game suspension in
Yeah,
a regular season, and that's 162 games. This is 8 out of 60. So like
it's like
it's equivalent of
20
like
something
7, 8
games.
times as much. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's absurd.
yeah,
And it's even more absurd when you compound that with the fact that the Astros players were never punished.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, really, like Joe Kelly gets like the equivalent of like a 20 something game ban for not hitting them. Like, what kind of like? Okay, I get that the MLB is quote unquote like sending a message. That's what people are saying, right?
Mhm.
Rob Manfred's trying to send a message. Like, where was that mentality when you caught them cheating? Like, where was that
Exactly.
message? Like, why all of a sudden you got to punish the Dodgers? Like, this is so crazy. It's just so crazy. But what I've heard was I was watching ESPN the other day, and people were saying because um, back when they were investigating the Astros, like the players had to cooperate, so like they were promised like immunity. That's why there wasn't like any punishment. It was that like I never heard about like that theory until now. Like, was that always the
Well,
case?
that was the case. So
Okay.
what happened was that early on in the investigation, they felt like they weren't getting anywhere with the players, based on the fact that they thought the punishments would end up being pretty severe. So they offered immunity so they could get to the bottom of it, and so
Hmm.
that they could prevent it in the future. Now, I do not think they got to the bottom of it because a lot of the Astros players never confessed. The
Yeah.
buzzer stuff was never confessed, And I think there's the fact that they denied that they did in the playoffs is absurd when there's no way they would just
Oh my
randomly
god.
stop it in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like you would do it all the way through. It's ridiculous. And so offering them immunity in the first place was foolish. And
Yep.
then the fact that they didn't even cooperate and weren't even punished after not cooperating is
Yep.
still absurd. The way they handled it is horrible.
That's the whole immunity thing drives me crazy. Because first of all, I'm pretty sure you're the boss of the Astros. So, like, you could do a lot of things to them to force them to cooperate without just
Mhm.
saying we won't punish you. Like, that's crazy, right? And the whole, like you said, like they just said they didn't use the buzzer. Like, did Altuve just get a tumor and then cure it in like a week? Like, we all see what's underneath his shirt. Like, there's no way you're not using a buzzer. I'll bang on their trash can thing. It just bugs me that they have immunity, and now Joe Kelly's getting like a 20-game ban. That it makes me lose respect for Rob Manfred about how he handled all of it. Speaking of people in managerial positions, I was also really frustrated at who's the manager for the Astros? I saw his name.
Dusty Baker.
Yes, fuck
Dusty
him.
Baker.
Honestly, I rarely curse, but seriously, fuck him. Like, I saw his comments. He was coming out. He was saying like,
When he was yelling at Joe Kelly.
"Dude, yeah." Oh, and some of the comments he made, like in the press conference, he said something about, uh, I want to say something along the lines like, "We paid for what we did, and there's like
Mhm.
no need for that." Come on, come on.
I think in his defense,
Yes.
like his entire job this year is to be that guy where he just defends his players and tries to
Yeah.
like move them past it. And
Yeah.
so I'm willing to give him the leniency there because like I don't think he has another option in order to keep that team cohesive. Because like if he says maybe like they need to like, atone for their sins, it's gonna be chaos. And so to keep that
I
clubhouse going,
guess.
he's gotta side with his players.
Yeah, I
Even
guess,
I'm
but
sure he knows he's wrong too.
yeah,
Like I'm sure he
dude,
knows it.
you know you're lying. Like, doesn't your conscience feel the way? Like, imagine how bad of a how lack of principle you have to be the manager of the Astros. Like, you gotta have like a no conscience at all. You gotta be like, oh, we were right. I can't believe he said like we paid for what we did. Like, those words, they are such lies, man. And talking about the players, like freaking Correa, man. First of all, he's a weirdo, and we all know it. I don't think that's too out of the question, right? And when Joe Kelly threw at him, he like kind of looked at him, and he like yelled back. If I was Alex Correa, I'd look down in shame, be like, I deserved it,
I think the
Come on,
fact that none of them stood there at the beginning of the year and actually legitimately
apologize.
apologized
Yeah,
really screwed them over. Because if any of them had done that, then they wouldn't be the targets. They'd be like getting off pretty clean. But
exactly.
none of them did. They made a joke out of it.
I think they probably made some sort of a pact that no one should, but the fact that they don't feel that remorse, right? Like, if I come on, baseball is a game that's all about tradition and dignity. It always has been. That's why it has so many like policing systems and it's such an old-fashioned game. But somehow they don't feel like the regret of doing something that egregious is beyond me. You know what? It's because they never took away the championship. I say once more, if you take away the championship, they'll start feeling sorry for themselves. The fact that they're still champions of 2017, 2018,
2017.
2017, and 2018, they're not. Were they champions? They were not.
No,
But they made it
they
pretty
lost to
far.
the Red Sox in the ALCS.
Exactly. They made it pretty far. So both those things, and the whole MVP with Altuve, never should have happened. I don't know, man.
I
Immunity doesn't
also
mean,
think
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, exactly. Like even with the immunity, they could have taken away the title. That was like
Yeah,
always on the table. Technically still is. They could do it. And I think they should. Like
they should.
especially if they're concerned about the Astros players getting hit leading to brawls during like this
Mm,
COVID
mm.
social distancing era. If they don't want that to happen, you take away the title, nobody's going to throw at them.
Yep. If you
That's
take
like
away the
all the
title,
justice anyone wants.
yep, the Dodgers would be fine. Joe Kelly wouldn't throw fastballs at their head. Everything would be fine. But I don't get why they don't want to do it. Like, is there a good argument to be made why like they are reluctant on doing so because
I
it
think
might
the
be
lack of
empty. Like,
historical precedent is the main thing. It's never happened in
okay,
any of the major sports leagues.
yeah, but look at a good commissioner like Adam Silver. Who cares if it hasn't happened before? If
I
it's the
agree.
right thing and the good thing to do, you do it, or else like, why make you the commissioner, right? It's just freaking stupid.
Congratulations! You've made it through the video. Now, go subscribe to all the links down below, comment, and hit that like button, and I will see you all in the next one.